As Lieutenant Catalina attempts to rescue Lyria from an aircraft while sneaking out, they unexpectedly encounter Pommern. In a sudden turn of events, Pommern uses a glowing stone-like object on Lyria, causing the stone on her chest to emit a painful glow. Despite Lyria's attempts to resist, the stone ultimately explodes. However, due to the explosion, she falls from the battleship. In a peaceful village, Gron's helping his friend Aaron by chopping wood. Eventually, Vern, a cute winged creature, appears with Aaron's father. While they are talking, suddenly they witness an explosion and something shiny falling down in the woods from the battleship. Curious, Gron rushes towards the woods while Vern chases him. As they examine the forest, they come across a piece of burned wreckage from the battleship. Gron decides to explore deeper into the forest. While they are wandering, Gron notices something shiny and runs towards it. Fortunately, they find Lyria unconscious on the ground. Gron and Vern wake her up. At first, she finds it shocking to see both of them, but Gron introduces himself and Vern. Lyria is surprised to see Vern and calls him a flying lizard. Lyria introduces herself. Gron then inquires Lyria to remember what happened to her and how she ended up in the woods. Lyria states that she was in a dark room and Catalina rescued her from there. Suddenly, Lyria remembers about Catalina and gets worried about her. Gron offers to help her in finding Catalina, but unfortunately, two knights appear demanding Gron to hand over Lyria, but he refuses and takes over both of the knights single-handedly. One of the knights shoots a flare to signal the other knights. However, Catalina catches sight of it and rushes towards the flare. As they are escaping the woods, some of the knights spot them and they eventually get trapped by the knights. Luckily, Catalina arrives just in time and saves them from the knights. She urges Gron and Vern to follow her and informs Lyria about the hidden airship on the island, which they plan to use as their escape route. Gron asks Catalina why they are being followed by the knights. Catalina reveals that Lyria is a special girl confined by the Empire until she helped her. Gron insists on helping them to find their aircraft. Catalina agrees, but on one condition: Gron will follow her orders. While fleeing, they come across and help a villager, with his daughter being harassed by the knights. Catalina and Gron save the villager from knights. They continue to find the aircraft, but soon get attacked by knights and Pommern appears clapping with the same glowing stone. Catalina tells everyone to run, but suddenly a five-headed dragon rushes and attacks Gron. Gron dodges the dragon's attacks, but the dragon strikes Gron, resulting in killing him. Lyria is trying to heal Gron by granting him her powers, but in the process, Pommern again uses the glowing stone and stops her, but to everyone's surprise, Gron stands up fully healed. Pommern finds it shocking and orders the dragon to attack them. Gron and Lyria ends up summoning a dragon named Bahamut. Lyria asks Bahamut to help her, to which he agrees. Frightened, Pommern orders his five-headed dragon Hydra to take down Bahamut. Hydra launches a barge of attack, but it does not seem to have any effect on Bahamut. Bahamut then creates a big ball of energy and releases it on Hydra. After witnessing Bahamut's power, Pommern orders his troops to retreat so he can report it to the Empire. Catalina is also shocked to see Lyria's powers. Bahamut vanishes into the gem on Lyria's chest. This confuses Gron, and because of the exhaustion, he passes out. While unconscious, Gron reminisces about his childhood, reading his father's letter with Vern saying that he will be waiting for Gron at Estelucia, Island of Astrals. That is the reason Gron desired to adventure the sky. Aaron appears and tells him that everything he talks about is just a fairy tale, but Gron refuses to believe it and tells him that his father is waiting for him there. As they both argue, Aaron's father smacks both of them to not fight and tells Gron that it's still too soon for him to be an adventurer. Gradually, Gron wakes up next to Lyria, who is relieved to see that he's alright. Vern and Catalina are also relieved to see him in good shape. Catalina reveals that Gron had actually died and it wasn't magic that brought him back to life, but rather Lyria's powers. Catalina reveals that the Empire has been studying powerful crystals and planning to take over more territories. Lyria was important for the Empire's crystal research, but despite using all of their resources, it couldn't fully understand her abilities. As a result, Lyria was held captive for a long time until she was eventually rescued by Catalina. Lyria clarifies that she utilized a process of merging their life forces to revive Gron, resulting in an unbreakable connection between them. Catalina further explains that they are now a singular entity and must depend on each other to survive. In any event of physical distance between them, their mutual support weakens, and the loss of this support could lead to the demise of both individuals. Catalina informs Gron that she and Lyria plan to leave the island before the Empire returns for them and requests if he would come with them. Gron and Vern happily agree. Catalina concludes that they're planning to head to the Astral Islands. Later that night, Gron announces to the villagers that he's leaving the island with Catalina and Lyria. Aaron initially opposes the decision, but eventually agrees on the condition that Gron will return after meeting his father. The villagers then celebrate with a massive feast. The following day, Gron packs his bags, including his father's letter. As Gron looks at the aircraft in amazement, he bids farewell to the villagers. Catalina takes the lead as everyone gets on board, and they manage to take off just in time to avoid crashing into the mountain. Catalina inadvertently damaged the aircraft handle, leading to a crash and complete destruction of the aircraft upon impact with the ground. A man inspects the entire aircraft and delivers the unfortunate news that the damage sustained during the crash has rendered the plane inoperable. He expresses his displeasure at the rough treatment the aircraft endured, which ultimately led to the crash. Gron spots a cargo airship heading towards town, prompting the team to follow suit. They arrive at Angana, the main island of the Port Breeze, which serves as a hub for island travel and commerce. During the group's visit to a store, Catalina purchases a journal of Lyria's choice to assist her in learning how to read and write. Later, while the group is wandering, they find a large temple, and an old man explains it's a merchant hub and a place where people thank the statue of Tiamat for the pleasant breeze. The following day, the team finds out the cargo ship is overbooked and it will take a while for them to get a seat. Gron notices a cargo ship nearby and is amazed to see the ship. Suddenly, the man from before reappears and introduces himself as Rackham. Rackham takes them to their damaged ship, which he is repairing, and agrees to return it on the condition that they have a capable pilot next time. While they are discussing, Drang and Sturm appear and ask them a favor to borrow their extra airship. Rackham expresses his suspicion about their offer, especially after Drang accidentally mentions Catalina's position as a lieutenant. Sturm decides to use force, but Rackham signals Gron to duck and uses smoke from the aircraft to make their escape. Drang and Sturm chases them, but gradually Gron decides to fight back. However, their fight is interrupted by anonymous magical roots. Rackham appears and leads them through an underground passage. Meanwhile, Catalina is looking for them. Rackham and others emerge from a nearby sewage. Catalina thanks Rackham for taking care of Lyria and others. Simultaneously, Catalina and others discuss the incident. Suddenly, Ciro appears and offers them a new airship, but unfortunately they can't afford it, and besides, no one in them is a pilot. Strangers sitting beside suggest they should ask help from Rackham, who is a skilled pilot and craftsman. The group decides to find Rackham and ask him to be their pilot. When they arrive at his place, they are surprised to see a massive aircraft, but to their surprise, the Empire's army also appears with General Furias. The group swiftly hides. A soldier asks Furias about the operation being excessive, to which Furias kills him, scaring Lyria. Furias orders to destroy the building and ambush Catalina and others. However, Rackham intervenes and shoots Furias' chair, causing it to break while continuously shooting at the soldiers. Furias reveals that he is the one who overbooked all the cargo ships, so they won't be able to escape. Rackham shoots a nearby ground, indicating Gron a tunnel. Gron opens the tunnel and tells Lyria and Catalina to enter the tunnel. As they are walking in the tunnel, Rackham appears with a torch and leads them to his safe house. In the safe house, Rackham asks the group what they were doing near his ship. Gron reveals that they are looking for a pilot who can help them get out of the island. Rackham declines the offer and explains that he will only fly with his beloved ship, Grand Cipher. Unfortunately, the vessel has been grounded since his childhood, and his greatest desire has been to repair it and take to the skies once again. Despite years of tirelessly gathering parts and working on it, his efforts have been unsuccessful. Rackham offers to teach Gron how to fly, but he is determined to remain aboard the ship until it is airborne. Meanwhile, Catalina shares the news that the Empire's soldiers have retreated and resolves to alert the residents about Furias' scheme to devastate the island. Furias reprimands the soldiers for their inaction during the shooting and subsequently departs to inquire about the preparedness for the island's destruction. While discussing with another soldier, Furias mentions the possibility of capturing Lyria, but ultimately decides to eliminate her as well. Rackham and others are surprised to see an odd weather. Verd inquires Catalina about the army. Catalina reveals that she has heard about the Empire having weapons that can decimate an island. Suddenly, Drang and Sturm appear. Catalina inquires about their objectives, but they refuse to reveal. Drang again asks them to get on his ship, but Catalina refuses. Drang and Sturm then decide to fight. Drang attacks Rackham, but he dodges them and rushes to attack. Simultaneously, Gron also attacks Drang, but Drang sends him flying. While Sturm is fighting Catalina, Rackham and Gron decide to fight Drang together, but suddenly they stop because of a tornado nearby, causing Drang and Sturm to retreat. Catalina states that she's sure Drang and Sturm are not working for Furias and wonders why they are trying to get them off the island. Lyria tells them that there is something in the sky. Catalina suspects that Furias is controlling the weather. Because of the storm, the citizens gather under a shelter. Catalina and the group regret seeing the city's condition. Gron and others are stunned to see multiple tornadoes wandering in the city. Rackham suggests getting the people out of the island. A man tells him that he has an airship, but no one to pilot. Initially, Rackham hesitates but agrees to fly the ship. Rackham and Gran run towards the cargo ship. Unfortunately, Furious destroys the cargo ship and reveals that the island's wind goddess is actually a primal beast named Tiamat, and he has been provoking her, making her angry. Lyria requests Rackham to take her in a small airship because her power can't reach Tiamat. Lyria plans to stop the wind goddess by getting close to her. Rackham takes the gamble and decides to use Grand Zephyr. Luckily, Grand Zephyr starts flying. Rackham and the group heads towards Tiamat so Lyria can talk to her. Rackham asks if they are on the right track. Lyria requests him to get them to the cloud in front of them. Gran informs them that Tiamat knows that they are here. Meanwhile, Furious is amazed to see Tiamat's power. Rackham and others move forward, dodging through the floating rock. Gran notices an attack from the cloud. Due to Rackham's excellent skills, Gran and others survive the attack from the Tiamat. As they enter the cloud, they confront Tiamat. Lyria tries to talk to her, but instead of listening, Tiamat attacks them. Gran asks Rackham to levitate the ship. Lyria informs Gran that the Empire has done something to Tiamat that makes her lose her mind. Lyria harnesses the power of Bahamut and channels it to Gran. With newfound strength, Gran leaps from the ship and charges towards Tiamat, who is still in the midst of attacking him on the floating rocks. In a swift motion, Gran shatters a gem on Tiamat's chest, causing her to snap out of her trance. Tiamat saves Gran from falling and takes him to the ship. Tiamat then vanishes into Lyria's stone and leaves a gift for Lyria. Lyria thanks Rackham for helping them. Rackham and Lyria announce to the citizens that Tiamat has been released from evil powers and continue to gentle blow a breeze on the island. Later, Catalina treats Gran wounds from the previous fight and requests Gran to consult her before fighting recklessly. Gran asks Lyria about the stone, but when they touch, they see some images. Zero arrives and is stunned to see the stone and addresses the stone as a sky map. Vern reminds Gran about his father having the same stone. One night, Gran meets Rackham and extends an invitation to be her pilot. Curious about their destination, Rackham inquires further and Gran responds by sharing his father's letter and revealing their intention to travel to the land of Astrals. After careful consideration, Rackham agrees to accompany them on their journey. The following day, Rackham and the group are ready to take off, but suddenly Zero comes running to them stating that she has a job for them. Zero tells them the client wants to meet Valt's Duchy. Meanwhile, Drang and Sturm report to a shadowy figure wearing armor about the incident. Rackham and others decided to make Gran their captain. Gran and the group finally arrive at Valt's. The team first has to get an entry clearance. While Gran and Rackham are busy with the entry clearance issue, Lyria and Vern are amazed to see the Valt's volcano. Catalina informs them the lava continuously pours out and the Valt's steel industry takes advantage of this to make their island prosper. To their surprise, Zero also appears and informs them of the place where they will meet with their client. Zero warns them that the locals get nervous from outsiders. The group is amazed to see the city and the crafts, but surprisingly there are not many people around. In the evening, Zero introduces the client to the crew. The client seeks their assistance in finding Archuk, the country's most significant person, and discloses that he works for the government intelligence, requesting their discretion. Furthermore, the client reveals that Archuk had been in touch with the Empire before his disappearance. The client implores the crew to accept the mission, and the final decision rests with their captain. Gran ultimately agrees and displays confidence in accepting the task. The crew is thrilled about the prospect of locating Archuk. The following day, the crew decides to split into two groups and collect information about Archuk. Lyria and Catalina inquire from a woman, while Gran and Rackham visit a weapon shop. From there, they come across a rumor of Archuk joining the Empire to make a weapon that can destroy the world. The crew meets and exchanges the information, but Catalina states that it's still early for the hypothesis. During the meeting, a shadowy figure eavesdrops. Next day, the crew visits the ruins, and while searching, Catalina notices someone following them. The crew hears a girl screaming and rushes to save her from the goblins. Later, the girl introduces herself as Io, a full-fledged mage, and reveals that Archuk is her master. Io concludes that ever since Archuk disappeared, she's been searching for him but failed. The crew thanks her for the information, but Io forces herself into the crew to help. Rackham flies the group to a massive old quarry. Upon approaching, Io senses Archuk magic and opens a secret passage. When they enter the hideout, to their surprise, Drang and Sturm also appear and state that they are here to accompany their employer. Catalina is taken aback upon the appearance of the Black Knight, advisor to the Empire, who reveals that the Archuk is also targeting Lyria, in addition to his doll. After delivering this news, the Black Knight promptly departs. However, the group is soon attacked by a mechanical monster created by the Archuk. Gran saves Io from the mechanical monster and defeats it. Io reveals that she senses Archuk magic from the mechanical monster. Catalina states that Archuk is still in the facility. The crew then proceeds to look around. The crew ends up in a secret factory where the Archduke and the Iron Giant appear. Archduke seems to have lost his sanity and also doesn't remember his disciple Io. Archduke states that the Iron Giant is not moving, but Lyria's power can activate it. Meanwhile, the Black Knight and his companions watch from afar. The mysterious girl with the Black Knight casts something on the Iron Giant for its activation. The Iron Giant attacks the crew, but they dodges. Both Catalina and Rackham attacks don't seem to have any effect on the giant. Lyria infuses Bahamut powers in Gron and attacks, but only able to scratch the surface. Io's spells appear to have no effect on the Iron Giant initially, but with the help of Lyria, they were able to knock the giant off its feet. Lyria used Tiamat's power to increase everyone's strength. Catalina, Gron, and Rackham inflicted significant damage on the giant. The giant retaliated with scorching hot lava, but Io was able to cast a massive ice spell thanks to Lyria's assistance, which pierced through the giant, ultimately defeating it. Archduke was taken aback by the outcome of the battle. Io approached Archduke and gave him a slap followed by a tight embrace. Suddenly, the building began to crumble. Lyria discloses that the Iron Giant rescued her during the building's collapse and then disappears into her chest stone. The team receives the sky map from the giant through Lyria, but the Archduke declines it and permits Lyria to keep it. The group is appreciated by Io for locating the Archduke. Utilizing the sky map, they discover that their next destination is the August Isles. The next day, as the team prepares to depart, Io arrives with packed bags and expresses her desire to join them, as per the Archduke's request. Gron accepts her into the crew. Amidst the ruins of a small island, two treasure hunters named Mary and Carva scour the area in search of valuable relics. Mary is about to fall in a trap, but climbs up and rolls through the rolling boulder. Meanwhile, Gron and others visit a new island with Ciro. Ciro decides to give them a discount instead of paying for the previous mission. Ciro offers the group another job to explore some ruins, and Gron accepts the mission. Gron and Rackham are on a mission to locate the ruins, with the rest of their crew following closely behind. Upon reaching the ruins, they proceed forward only to find themselves sinking into the ground one by one, resulting in an unexpected fall. In the chaos, Gron and Lyria are separated, desperately trying to hold onto each other. The crew falls randomly and is divided into two groups, Gron, Rackham, and Io in one group, and Lyria, Catalina, and Vern in another group, each finding themselves in different rooms. Luckily, Lyria and Gron can sense each other's existence. Suddenly, Gron and the group face an enormous wave of water coming to them, but Io saves them by casting a spell. Simultaneously, Catalina also shields Lyria and Vern from a ruins trap. Both of the groups decide to find the other group. While searching for Lyria and others, Gron groups notice something nearby and rush towards it. The two treasure hunters from before fights a monster. The monster attacks Carva, but Gron swiftly slides in and saves her. Gron, Rackham, and Mary fight the monster, but it doesn't seem to have any effect because of its sand nature. Gron plans and asks Io to cast a water spell, creating a smokescreen around. Gron injures monster leg and slams Drunk a bomb in its mouth, causing it to blast. Simultaneously, Lyria and others also appear sliding through the monster's sand. Mary and Carva open the door that leads to the treasure room and are amazed to see a room full of gold. Meanwhile, Gron moves forward and pulls out a cool sword, and hilariously, everything including treasure vanishes. Later, Ciro offers to compensate them with free supplies since the client who assigned them to the job refused to pay for a non-existent treasure site. Lyria walked through a pool of blood and spotted a girl reading while sitting atop a stack of books. As she tried to call out to her, she was startled to see the lifeless bodies of those she cared for materialize. The girl turned around, revealing herself to be another version of Lyria. Eventually, Lyria wakes up from the nightmare, shaken and confused. As Catalina and Rackham fly towards the next island, they express their joy for Lyria having made new friends. However, their peaceful flight is interrupted when Rackham abruptly lands Grand Cipher on the water and docks it on the nearby beach. Meanwhile, Lyria begins to hear a voice in her head attempting to convey a message to her. The crew smells something strange coming from the other side. They see some suspicious slime. While they are inspecting the slime, a guy appears on the boat who turns out to be Rackham's old buddy, Eugen. Eugen and Rackham are happy to be reunited. Rackham introduces him with his crew and Gron as their captain. Eugen takes them with him and elaborates on the experiments conducted by the Ursa Empire in the waters of August, which have resulted in the creation of foul-smelling sea slime and conflicts with the inhabitants of the surrounding islands. Eugen leads them to the stunning capital of August Isles, Mazzario, and takes them to his residence. While there, an injured individual appears and Io promptly heals him. Eugen discloses that monsters are emerging along the coast, prompting Io and Catalina to offer their assistance. Eugen requests Rackham to tune their ships and dispatches Lyria and Gron for some shopping. While shopping, Gron and Lyria come across a seafood stall. The food seems appetizing to Lyria. Luckily, the owner offers her complimentary food. After having food, Lyria passes by a jewelry shop. Gron buys Lyria a beautiful blue hair clip of her choice. Suddenly, it starts raining and Gron and Lyria wait under a shade. After the rain stops, Gron tells Lyria to stay put while he buys something. Surprisingly, some shadowy figures appear and kidnap Lyria. Gron tries to chase Lyria, who is abducted by the Empire, but unfortunately is unable to do so. Adding to his woes, the Imperial army begins to invade the city. Lyria is forcibly taken to Pommern, who attempts to take her with him by coercing the civilians and belittling her worth. Pommern falsely accuses Lyria of assaulting the townspeople, but Lyria refutes the claims and affirms her desire to continue her journey with her companions. Unmoved, Pommern insists that Lyria is nothing more than a tool abandoned by the Astrals and breaks her hairpin. When Gron arrives, he immediately engages in combat with Pommern's soldiers. His fury intensifies upon seeing Lyria in tears. Suddenly, the colossal beast known as Leviathan emerges and destroys the Empire's battleships with ease. Gron bravely defeats all of the soldiers and prepares to confront Leviathan. However, the creature summons a massive wave, engulfing everyone in its path. Rosetta employs her mystical roots to save everyone from their impending drowning fate. However, Lyria remains unconscious despite their attempts to revive her. Upon her return, Rosetta introduces herself and sheds light on the reason for Leviathan's actions, making it clear that the beast is not to blame for Lyria's condition. Additionally, she discloses that only Gron, due to their deep connection with Lyria, has the power to revive her. Following that, Catalina discloses Lyria's backstory to Gron, informing him that Lyria has the ability to summon a beast capable of destroying an entire island, and that she was rather emotionless until Catalina came into her life. Meanwhile, Gron and Catalina argue about who is accountable for Lyria's current state. Eventually, after much contemplation, Gron consents to join Rosetta on her journey. Gron and the crew finally arrive at Lumacy Isles with the guidance of Rosetta. Rosetta then informs the crew that this island is forgotten by others. While all of this is happening, Lyria experiences a disturbing dream in which she runs on red water until she is reunited with everyone she cares for, only to see them crumble into dust. This dream triggers Lyria's memory of Pommern's words. Rosetta walks the crew through a dangerous cave. When Rackham complains, she states that it's the safest way to their destination. Rosetta takes them to a tree and calls Yggdrasil. Suddenly, the nearby environment changes and Yggdrasil magically appears sitting in the middle of a tree. Rosetta informs the crew that Yggdrasil is a primal beast who rules over forest. Yggdrasil seems happy to see Rosetta and rushes to hug her. Rosetta reveals that they are close to each other like family. Gron and the crew ask Yggdrasil to help heal Lyria. Yggdrasil then decides to send Gron into Lyria's mind. Once inside Lyria's mind, Gron attempts to converse with her, but Lyria remains in a state of profound despair and continues to hold on to her conviction that she is a jinx to those in her proximity. Despite Gron's reassurances, she remains unconvinced and decides to sacrifice the rest of her life, hoping to release him from the burden of being associated with her. She intends to expel him from her consciousness and end her own existence. However, when Gron drops a gift he had given her, it jolts Lyria out of her despair. She realizes that everyone in the group truly cares for her and wants to continue the journey together. Lyria finally comprehends that she has never brought any misfortune and decides to live her life to the fullest with her companions. As they wake up, everyone seems happy and Yggdrasil vanishes into Lyria's chest stone, seemingly resolving their dilemma. Despite their momentary relief, Rosetta warns them that the Empire has arrived. Pommern orders his soldiers to destroy the forest, but the crew shows up. Pommern addresses Lyria as a thing and an artifact created by Astrals, but the group declines to believe him. Pommern uses the glowing stone to control and orders monsters to attack them, but Rosetta stops them with her magic. The crew beats them with the help of Tiamat. The crew then decides to stop Leviathan from causing any more trouble and disaster to August. Eventually, it is revealed that Rosetta was invited by Gron's father to a journey. Miserio, the capital of August, is under attack by Leviathan. As Eugen and other soldiers battle Leviathan, the beast continues to rampage and wreak havoc. Meanwhile, Gron, Lyria, and their companions return to August and are shocked to see the city's current state. One of the Leviathan attacks is coming towards Eugen, but Lyria saves him with Iron Giant. The crew shows up and offers to help, but Eugen reveals that Leviathan is far stronger. So instead of fighting, they decided to evacuate the city. Lyria and the crew stop him and reveal that Leviathan is exerting maximum effort to cleanse the contaminated ocean. She also observes that Leviathan's existence is interdependent with others and it derives vitality from their life force. Lyria requests to help Leviathan. Eugen calls out his soldiers to fight all the monsters, while they take care of Leviathan. The crew runs towards the beast, but suddenly the monsters ambush them. However, Mary and Carva unexpectedly come to their rescue. While Yodarha and Yule were poking the slime, the monsters attempted to attack them, but the two effortlessly defeated all of them. As the crew proceeds towards the beast, they witness Narmea killing monsters with just one strike. Gran and the others are left amazed by her skills. Narmea offers to help and disappears after transforming into a flurry of butterflies. While Silva provides cover fire, the group continues to make their way towards Leviathan. At the same time, Mary and Carva are being chased by monsters, but Soras comes to their rescue. He uses his special technique, Punch the Stars, to take out the remaining monsters. Just as the crew thinks they are in the clear, they are surrounded by more monsters. Fortunately, Jessica arrives with her big cannon to help them out. Feather also appears and joins the fight, with Yule rushing towards the monster as well. Yodarva notices that the monsters are all heading back towards Leviathan, but to everyone's surprise, they suddenly reunite and attack in the form of a tornado. The crew wonders if this is Leviathan's doing, but Lyria states that she doesn't sense anything coming from it. Gran, however, senses the presence of the commander among the swarm of fish. Vern urges Lyria to summon Bahamut to fry the monsters, but she refuses, knowing it will harm Leviathan. As the monsters close in on Gran, Charlotta swiftly saves him just in time. Zeta, even though she was only meant to observe, joins the fight and manages to kill a bunch of monsters. However, she is unable to slay the commander. Eugen runs out into the open and locates the commander. The commander orders the monsters to attack, but Eugen shoots it down before they can strike. Lyria summons Yggdrasil and uses it to trap Leviathan. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Gran rushes in to strike the beast while dodging its attacks. He stabs the stone under Leviathan's neck, but the black substance on it causes both Gran and Lyria to get hurt. Leviathan eventually disappears into Lyria's chest stone. As the Black Knight and Dahl watch from afar, Dahl steals half of Leviathan's strength from Lyria and disappears into the night. Later that evening, everyone is celebrating their victory over Leviathan when Eugen approaches Gran with a request to join their crew. However, he conceals his true motive, which is to reunite with his daughter. The following day, the group sets off on a new adventure.